Welcome our participants to this deep webinar. In this webinar, we have presenters Joana Morales from OCHA ROLAC, who is a powerful user of this the DEEP platform. She has a long time experience working in with the platform to do secondary data review for the different occasions in those countries that are covered by the ROLAC. Currently, she is also working on three HNO projects using the platform. Then, after a few minutes, we will also be joined by Semina Contala, who is also a DEEP project manager, and myself, Rael Getachew, who is Information Management Officer from OCHA FIS. As you have seen it from the invitation, this deep webinar intends to cover a number of topics. So first, we will have a presentation on secondary data review by Joana, what it is and how it is related with the platform. Then we will have also a brief presentation on DEEP projects by Semina. Then Joana will take us through on a specific DEEP project, picking one example country and how we create a project, how we use the analytic framework, how we add our sources, how we do the tagging, and the whole process up to the exporting a project. So we will have a live demonstration with Joana. Then I will have a short session on what are the critical elements that we need to take a look when we do our tagging. So then afterwards, most of us who are here, and particularly those who took the impact course, we know DEEP as a platform for secondary data review. But today we will also see some features which is beyond that, like analysis module, the assessment registry, the natural language processing in DEEP, which is currently at a pilot phase by Semina. Then we will have a Q&A session. So welcome again, participants. And one thing I encourage you is do not wait until the Q&A session. Whenever you have a question, please post it in the chat window. Then we will also be monitoring the chat. So without further ado, let me pass the floor to Joana. Let me stop sharing. Joana, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I am Juana Morillas, and I am going to refresh what is secondary data review, a little bit of analysis, and the role of DEEP in all this term and process. So let's start. This is how the analysis is perceived in the humanitarian system. Here we have like the big picture. In light blue, you can see the steps or the layers that are needed to go through the analysis workflow. As you know, explanatory, descriptive, explanatory, interpretive, anticipatory, and prescriptive. This process, as you can imagine, needs time and brain power to come with our analytical conclusions and help decision makers. You have heard that nowadays we tend to over-collect, analyze very little, and then over-report. I'm sure that you have heard about that. And DEEP wants to change that. DEEP wants to focus on collect what is needed, analyze as much as possible, and then report what is needed. As you see, DEEP within the flow will help us to collect and filter the information needed for your analysis. And also, in an aim to move forward, DEEP incorporates now the analysis module, where we can store our analytical statements. And Ximena, our colleague from Data Friendly Space, that is now here with us, is going to show us that in a minute. So let's go now from this big picture to the point where you can see DEEP. So we focus in a little bit, and this is where we are going to do our secondary data review. This is a definition for those who likes definition. It's a definition that came out from ACAPS, and it has been revised several times. And it says that secondary data review is a rigorous process of data collation, synthesis, and analysis with relevant information available from different sources, such as government and NGOs, UN agencies, media, social media, etc. And why do we do this? We can do it to have a baseline information, to present an initial and quick situation overview, to identify gaps, very important, in case that we need a primary data collection, to support a strategic planning. And I wanted also to tell you that at the moment in ROLAC, we are performing, or we are conducting 3 parallel secondary data review using DEEP for 3 countries, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, preparing for the humanitarian needs overview. Amazing project, and we are very, very happy with this. So now we are going to see this in a more visual way. You know that we have primary information and secondary information, and you know that the secondary information came very important, no, with in the context of the pandemic, the COVID-19. With the secondary data information that you see on the right, the key issue, the challenge, is that we have to extract the information that is existing. Maybe 10 or 15 years ago, what was a challenge? The challenge was to collect information. But as of today, we need to be able to filter among multiple sources through a common analytical framework to get the picture of what is happening in a humanitarian landscape. This is everything about secondary data review process, and now we are going to talk about a very important element from this process, that are the sources. We wanted to share with you this list of sources. This is something that we agree with a project in DEEP, JIMAC. Thank you, JIMAC, very much for sharing this with us. I think it's a very good practice from the secondary data review team to agree on the sources before they start adding sources in the platform, in this case, in the DEEP platform. So we look for sources that are relevant, but also credible, and bring them within the secondary data review process. We are going to see this in a visual way. So this is secondary data in the humanitarian sector. It's data that have been obtained by someone else, no? Data that is already there, is already existing, and has already gone through a layer of analysis, and that we use for different purposes. For example, we use the latest census to estimate current population figures, for example. So an analyst, and we come back again to the analysis like we started at the beginning, an analyst is able to extract and put all those pieces of information relevant from the different sources, put them together, and get a coherent picture on the topic and hand it over to decision makers in humanitarian organizations. So I am going to resume what I just told you. First, secondary data versus primary data, relevant sources. Second, we put those sources through the secondary data review. And third, how do we do it? We do it using DEEP, because of the comfort of DEEP, because every project, as you are going to see in a minute, has incorporated an analytical framework, and is very comfortable to work with that. So Rachel, that is for the moment. Now is the turn of our colleague Jimena.
First, hi everyone. My name is Jimena. And I am working for Data Friendly Space. I am the DEEP project manager, but specifically for the natural language processing part, where we are now developing some tools to assist in the tagging process. So I'm going to talk quickly just about what the data entry exploration platform is. When DEEP was created, it was basically created to fix the problem of too much data in qualitative form, in that are multiple data sources. Data is everywhere. Here you can see this guy looking into different boxes. And when I think it got inspired, by by Yuan, who, when, you know, like this guy who was very used to do all these data science comes to an OCHA office in Nepal, and then he goes and then sees that there's people already out there with maps. There are others with a lot of documents everywhere. There are some others like looking for information online. And then he said like, okay, so there's no way that where you have this information all together. And well, so these basically inspired him to start creating like, you know, solutions in order for this. Next one, thank you very much, Juana. So it's so next, you know, we see that there is an increased number of these qualitative sources, and most of the people that we know of, they take decisions based on these qualitative sources. We can process a lot of data, numbers, and so on, so that we IM, like the IM groups, do very well. But when it comes to documents, a number of documents and this amount of data, well, there was very little to show. So here, this graph, you can see the volume of documents related to Relief Web, that is of course one of our main data sources, over time. And you can see how much has been growing in the last years. And I think it's going to be growing even more and more. So having a tool like Deep in order to have the possibility for us to structure these documents and make sure that we can analyze them and use them properly, I think it's important. Next slide, please. So what's Deep? As I said, it's a platform for data exploration. It's web-based, so you can easily access it in any, well, hopefully like Google Chrome is the one that we suggest, or Firefox, but basically on a browser. And you can easily catalog large amounts of qualitative data and export it into a variety of formats. It is a collaborative platform, so it means that there the possibility for you to work in different teams and to basically sort analysis through different parts of the tagger team. So people can be, you know, some of them uploading the data, some of them tagging the data, some of them can be revising and quality controlling that those tags have been well placed. And then, of course, someone can analyze, and these can be done in the same platform. It helps us structure these unstructured data in a very nice format. And we can customize our own analytical framework. So this is very important because, as we know, when we come to qualitative data, there are several ways that we can try to understand it. Next slide, please. So what's the Deep process? It's a very easy process, that it's already embedded in the user interface that we have. So basically, sourcing, we add different sources. We can upload them from our computer. We can look into a website. Or we can add those sources also through the connectors. I'm going to show it later. Then we have annotation. It's basically the tagging process where we catalog each of the sources that we uploaded, and then the analysis. And this part, although we have only one very let's say not really developed analysis module within the Deep, it's now what we find it a little bit useful for us to show it. And I believe that this module we're trying now to develop it further so that it will be more useful for the users. So So what can we do when tagging secondary data? We can tag basically from everything, from the affected areas, with the affected groups, what are the affected sectors, what is the immediate cause, how reliable our resource or our data or whatever we're tagging is. We can plug into the date. So it means that in every step, the time we're categorizing our data, we have more tools to share with those taking decisions, to have, like, a better analysis. And this is quite easily done in Deep, and I think now Juani is going to be helping us to show how is this done. I think it's going to be your turn to show the platform and how it works, and then I will add on sources and on the connectors, etc.
Sure. So I am with you again, and now I want you to get familiar with Deep, to show you how the platform now looks like, and to give you some tips that will help you when you are working with this platform. We are going to access, the address, the deep.io, and you can log in with your humanitarian ID or with your email and password. Going to log in with email and password. And this is the first interface that you are going to see when you log in. If you have project that you are a member, you are going to see a little bit of overview information and also a visualization with your activity over the time. If you go down, you will see a little bit more detailed information about within your project, etc. We are going to create a new project. We are going to add sources. We are going to do a little bit of tagging, and I want you to see the final product. We are going to see different examples from different products. So we set up a new project. You click here on the right side in blue, set up a new project. And here you need to name your project. We are going to say Somalia Humanitarian Needs Overview 2021. You need to add a date and a description. We are going to say secondary data review, for example, to improve the humanitarian needs overview analysis for the HPC 2023 in Somalia. Then you can add stakeholders, for example, if you want to. It's not necessary, but here, for example, we are going to add for you to see friendly space. So Ximena, you are in here, project owner. You can say that is international partner, national partner, etc. This is a possibility. So what do you need? Well, now you save the project, of course. Don't forget to save it. And now that you have created the project, you will have the possibility to add your areas. If you are working in a specific region, you can add the country here. Deep has admin 1 and 2 for most countries in the world, and some of them with level 3. We look here for Somalia for you to see the name of the country here. Somalia. You confirm that this is a country, and here you can see the level of region. In this case, every country is different, and district. Second, users. You can add users to your project from different organizations, and you can assign the users different roles. For example, I am going to add Rahel. Here is Rahel, and then Rahel will have the role of admin. So Rachel is now within the project. And the last part that you need to add to your project is the analytical framework. The analytical framework, I'm going to show you just, this is not deep, this is the framework Humanitarian Needs Overview 2022. So now we cannot see the picture, it's okay. I want just you to see what is an example of an analytical framework. We are going to see it within a minute. The analytical framework is where you are going to filter the data and structure the data into deep. A good analytical framework has to be able to reach your analytical conclusions. If you decide to create, we are going to click here, the menu on the top, analytical framework, you have two possibilities. You can create your own framework, or you can choose and use one of the frameworks that are already in the system. If you decide to create a new framework, you click here, top on the right, add a new framework. You name it. You need a name for it. We are going to say Somalia 2022. And I think that's it. You can save it. Exactly. And now you have in the menu on the top, primary tagging, secondary tagging, and review. When you click in primary tagging, you start building the different widgets within the framework. And what do you need to know here? What is important? That you have sections, you can create sections. We are going to create one section. You need the title, for example, overview, you save it. And then within the section, I'm going to save it here on the right top. Saving. See, it's responding. Yes. Save. I want to save my first section. 1 second. No. Okay. Within the section, you have one D matrix and two D matrix. What does it mean? The one, 1 second. I want to be within the matrix. My tagging section. It's not activating. It's not activated the first, the one D matrix. Let me check if I. No, okay. Now, 1D matrix, what does it mean? A 1D matrix is the one dimension matrix and it has rows and cells. For example, if I click here, then I need a title. I'm going to say information and communication. Then I need rows. I'm going to say information, for example. You also can say, for example, context, information. And then for every row, I need cells. And in cells, I'm going to say information gaps and information. I save it. And here you can see on the right that we have built a one matrix dimension for the framework. Now I'm going to add a second D matrix. I click here, second D matrix. And then, as I told you here, we have rows, sub-rows, and columns. We need a title. We are going to say sectoral information. Then I need rows. We are going to say in row impact, for example, impact in here, impact, and then I need sub-rows. Second row, impact on systems, systems and services, impacting humanitarian access or drivers, etc. and so on. You are here building everything that you want. And then you have columns. Columns, let's see. you click in the plus. I am always clicking in the plus, and then for the columns, that's why it's a second dimension matrix. We are going to use cross, health, sample, and logistics. Example for you to see. I save it, and here on the right you can see the difference between a one-dimension matrix and a second dimension matrix. Very interesting also is that you can build more widgets. If I display this menu, you have the possibility to have a text where you can type manually number, date range, time rate, scale. Scale for me, for example, is a key element if you want to capture the severity of a piece of information. And it's a key element because we want to show those that are most in need in a crisis. And then you can create a scale with the severity, or you can, for example, create a scale for the reliability of your information or any other disaggregation. For example, I create a scale with the title severity, and then I have call it low with a yellow color, and then I have medium with orange color, and then I have that's scale of the widget red high. So here you can see it on the right that we have built a severity scale. If you don't have the time to create a framework, I am going to you have the possibility always, here on the right, you see the bin. You can discard everything that you have built. And I am going to do it because I'm going to show you the second option. So I discard everything because now I don't want to build the framework. I want to show you that if you don't have the time, there is an already existing repository of frameworks that you can check and use if you want. Here, if you want to see all the frameworks in the platform, click here on the left side, my frameworks. No, sorry, all frameworks. Oops. Second, here, all frameworks, and you can explore the frameworks that are on the platform. Show more, and you have here all the list of frameworks. For this example, we are going to use this one. Is the joint intersectoral analytical framework. Is the one that we use in preparation for the humanitarian needs overview, and I am going to clone it here on the right. I'm going to clone this framework for my project. So I have to name it. And then I'm going to select it. I have cloned it because then if I do a modification in the framework, it doesn't affect to the owner of the framework that I have cloned. So I use it, yes, and I have everything now settled in my project. So we go project details, we can close here. Now I am in the starting page and I have the project that I have just created, Somalia, the humanitarian needs overview. And now I go here on the top in the menu, tagging, because now we are going to add content to that project. How do we add sources to the platform? I click in tagging. I have no sources. As you can see here, the repository normally is full, but now it's empty. We have 3 ways to add content to the platform. On the top right here, you can read add a source. So I can add sources from my laptop. I can add sources from the website, or I can use connectors. Ximena is going to talk afterwards in a couple of minutes about connectors. I'm going to show you very briefly these 2 possibilities. If I want to upload sources from my computer, I'm going to click in Add Sources, Browse Files on the left, and I'm going to add these 2 sources. 2 PDF document. It's uploaded, and you will need just to, some information is automatically there, but you need the date and the publishing organization. Here is a World Food Program. Priority you can choose, compatibility also, and the second one, the second source. Save, it's safe here, and the second source is this one. The second one from UNHCR. I'm just clicking one date, but you will do it right. The correct date, UNHCR. You select it, and now we go to deep. And you can see here the repository was empty some seconds ago, and you can see that the two sources have been uploaded in the platform. Second possibility is that you are working in the web, and then you see a source that is interesting for your project and you want to add it. Then you can either here click add website. Here I recommend you that in your profile menu on the top right, you have installed the Chrome extension. It's very easy. You click the Chrome extension, and then here you can remove it because I have added. But instead of remove, you will find a message, add Chrome extension. You add it, and that's it. You are now in the web. You find a source that is interesting for your project. You go to the deep browser extension, you click, some information is already there, then you select the date, and the publishing information, here is, no, it's not OCHA, it's RSG. Is it? Yeah. And then you can choose also confidentiality and priority, you save it, that's it. We go to deep, and we should have 3 sources. 1 second, where are my sources? Here I refresh. And here are the 3 sources that we just add. And now, how do we create entries in these sources? I am going to click here in tag, in the first one that we add from Relief Web tag. Here on the right side, you see in blue, tag. This entry, original, let me check. Then extract. So if this happened to you, that deep in this moment cannot extract the text, go to the second one. Okay, this is the second one, the second source. We will come back to the first one in a minute. And here on the right, on the top left, you have original and simplified. This is something quite, I use it, at least I use it a lot, because I like to take a look to the original text. How does it look like? Is it long? Is it long document? Is it short? Does it have pictures? I take a look to the table of content. What is that about? Which kind of documents I'm facing? And then I work in the simplified text. The simplified text is just the document without the plain text, without pictures or charts or tables. You also have the possibility, for example, here we are going to take the chance here that there are a lot of graphics to show you that you can capture in this camera here on the right. You see, if you click here, because you can capture, you want to capture image, you can select, click in the OK button, and this is an entry. This is that now is frame is an entry that you can tag on the right. On the right is the right side of the screen is your analytical framework, and then because this is about protection, UNHCR is. I consider that is impact on people, so I go impact. Impact people protection, and I can tag here. I click. Did you see that now is activated? And I go again to the left and okay. So I have one entry. So let's go now to the second source. Don't forget always to save here on the right, save. And then you get the message in green, successfully saved one entry. And then is when you can close and go again to the repository. As you can see in the second source, now NDeep is telling you one entry. That's the one that we just made. The third source from the workflow program, I'm going now in the source by clicking tag, as I told you, content on the left, framework on the right. And here, let me show you again also the original for you to see which kind of document is it. And in this, in the simplified test, document or test, I start reading, and then I see here, for example, political tension and unrest disrupted markets in Moga. And then I say, okay, markets, and I identified here that there is an impact in, not in people, but in system and in system and services. So I'm going to click here in the section impact on system and services. Sorry, you have to click on the plus, then you have the entry, then you tag impact on system and services. You go again to the left, click here, save, and you have another entry. We close it, so now we have two entries from our sources. We are going to try again the first document that I don't know why it was not working. I don't know why this is happening not very often, but at the moment I cannot tag in this source. I don't know what's the problem now is, but normally with Relief Web it works very nicely. So what can I do with the sources and with the entries? I can move, for example, this is new now in the platform, move the one source from one project to the other. I have something called here on the right entry card, and this is a nice visualization of your entries. I can verify and control the entries. For example, here, if I click this entry, you can see edit text. You can edit, you can add a comment for the other users to see. You can verify, or you can control. That is, I didn't activate it here, but it's very easily activated. Or you can delete it in case that you have seen that it's repeated or whatever, you can delete it. So that's what you can do with when working with your entries. And now we are going to export. I'm going to show you how does it work here. The menu on the top, sources and export. You are going to click in new export. We have three sources, but we have only two entries. It's going to be short, but just for you to show you that you can here, imagine that here sometimes we have hundreds and hundreds of sources and entries, and we have on the left the possibility to add some filters. That's also quite useful, and you can choose the different formats for your exportation. Word, PDF, Excel, JSON, and here in advance, this is also very practical because you can, you can change or play with the structure of your report. Sometimes I don't like that if I have impact and then all the sectors, sometimes I want to have the sectors on the top and then impact on people or system and services. So you can play here always with the structure, how that the report looks like. It doesn't affect the information at all. It's only how do you want to present the information. I'm going to export, for example, to Excel. The three sources, start export on the right top, and it's going to be quick because it's very short. You download and it's opening here. Because we only have two sources, but this is how it looks like, the metadata and then some the information depending on the categories that are in your framework. So I'm going to show you more final products. This is, for example, Excel exports and export doing in an Excel document. And in this case, the sources were assessments. You can see also the metadata, the information on the top. I go to the right for you to see. I also can show you here. This is a document, Excel. The sources were not assessments. It's like documents, different kind of documents. You can see affected group. These are the disaggregation that they have in the framework. Countries, the country, sectoral information, etc. And I can show you also. I can show you from Sudan. This is something that Rahel shared with me today, and it's very interesting how they present the information. They divide it by context, and that's the way they present it. I really like this one. But this export is to a Word document. This is the content. Let's do it a little bit quicker. This is the context. And then they have the pillar 2 about shocks, events, ongoing. And in a different document, they have the sectoral information. I also can show you in the 3, let me check. I told you that we are conducting now 3 projects in ROLAC. And one of them, you can see them here, ROLAC El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. If we click in El Salvador and we go inside the project, tagging, we go to export, and we have here the entries that we have at the moment. Is ongoing, so it's not finished. This is also Excel. These are the entries that we have at the moment in this project. Oops, 1 second. Where are you? Is it this one? I think so. So I hope that you like it. Rahel, from my side, this is...
Yeah, thank you very much, Joanna. Let's see if participants have a question.
Yes.
If not, I would like you also to show, if you go back to one of the excerpts on the second example, you also had information on geographic location. So there is an option also to include secondary tagging on the geography, just to show it from the demonstration from the platform. The second tag, I guess you had. But in the meantime, if you have any question, participants, you are welcome. I see Hermela hand over to you.
Thank you, Joanna, for the presentation, and thank you, Rahel. My question is on. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm taking you back to the presentation.
Presentation, okay.
My question is not the presentation, actually, the deep presentation. On the analytical framework, once it is cloned, can we modify it and use it for our service?
Yes.
If so, how can we modify a framework that is cloned? One is that. The second question is on the geographic areas. Once we have selected the country and we have the admin 1 level and the admin 2 level, can we just select some parts of that country and proceed with our deep project?
Okay. I am going to answer you, and you, Ximena, you can maybe tell me if I am right. For the first question, you can, once that you clone the framework and you use that framework, you can do all the modifications that you need. that's no problem. So you will edit the framework. You will find on the right top, you can find like a pencil, and you edit that framework, and you can delete widget, or you can add new widget, rename them, or whatever. And it doesn't affect any other users or any other framework. The second question, I guess that there is something called create a new geo area, but I'm not sure. I have never done it. I have never select. I don't know, Ximena, have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, if you go there to the to your edit where it says public project, you edit it in the little pencil that you have there. You want to click it, please? I'm
Here?
showing you. Yeah, edit your project there, the Somalia HNO. Okay, go to geo areas. If you're not happy to the area that you have here something that it says add a costume area. Let me open one myself, because this is, can you see now the deep? Okay.
Yes.
So I just created here a new custom area.
Perfect.
So I did what you did, and I put like geo, okay. And you basically create your own costume area within the map, and this is what you're gonna get, okay. And here you can costume your admin levels, and here it says upload and file, and select the correspondent field names from your file. So you can here add whatever you want to add. You can still this is basically how you add these geo areas in a new way. So I hope, yeah, I don't have any shape file, so I cannot add it in this computer. So voila, and then you publish the area. You see, you add everything you want, and then you publish the area. And these will actually be reflected in the whole of your project. So if you're an admin and you don't like the boundaries that are already there, because you have better updated areas, or you have, something that you really need to use, then basically you can just, add whatever you want to. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, thank you, Pamela.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just it's a matter of my question is related to filtering where in the existing admin admin boundaries. I mean,
in the existing ones, if you want, you can edit those
just
ones.
No, just to filter some of the states, not all in the country. I mean, if my project is focusing on 3 of the states, not all the whole country, then can I do that?
I mean, I will say, like, well, what you can do is just, you select the whole country, and then when you're tagging, you're only going to be tagging on those areas.
Okay.
So that would be the same. Then you will not have the rest of the areas, and that will be shown in your project. Okay. Yeah, I will show you, and like now that I'm here, I'll show you a couple of other things that we have. And one of the things is basically the connectors. So Juani went through different ways where we can add sources. And another way so that we can have, more sources together is these connectors. So I added these, like I just had this demo project in here. And here I'm going to have like the connectors. Here I have no connectors. So it means like, there's nothing. But then I can create any connectors. Something that we have so far that we can ingest data directly so that you don't have to go directly to the website and so on, is through, these. So these portals. So we have a connector now to Relief Web and our RSS feed. So basically you create an RSS and then you can connect it directly here. Humanitarian response at PDNA. So for example, if I want to create a Relief Web connector, so my connector will be for this project, I don't know, since we're talking about Somalia, and maybe I want to know about protection. And then, so, well, I'm just going to put Somalia 2022 as everything we have been calling. So primary country, I will put Somalia. And then this is basically some filters that are given directly by Relief Web. And let's say that I want to start like, you know, from 2020 all the way till now, or maybe I want to put it in the future. June. But I mean, nothing is going to pop out afterwards. So I just put save, and then this is going to start sourcing all of the documents that we have for Somalia. Ah, look, 888 from the total. Like, okay, it's interesting. So for Somalia for that period of time. So basically, now we created our connector and it is fine. Okay, this is, now I'm gonna close it. And then I don't remember what was my demo project. I go and open my project, and then I'll add here source, and we have now here add sources from connectors. And oh, come on, I just added my connector. What happened? Didn't I save it? Maybe that happened. Sorry, that was my fault. No, it's because I don't have on the period of time that I wanted maybe documents. Okay. Okay. I should be fine. Project details, say project.
Jimena, the name of the project is Somalia and HNO.
Yeah, no, but I'm not part of that project, so I just created it here.
Okay.
Because you didn't add me, so
sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, but I mean, it should work right now. Maybe I have to refresh. Let me see. Refresh a little bit. Let me see. Now I can add it. Voila! Now we have it here, and we have here all the sources. So basically, now if I want to add, I don't know which one were you looking into of the sources you were showing, but let's say I want to add this one. Now, like everything already is filled in, as you can see in the sourcing, and you know, it's public, and then I put save, and now I have one source added. It looks like now here I have now my source that I just added now from the connector, as you can see. So here I cannot see it, so then we try to take a snapshot of what's happening over there, and now I can see the whole yeah, like the document, like the news that I wanted to get from Relief Web. Oops, sorry. And I can just proceed and tag as I wanted to tag. As Juani showed us before. So this is basically on the connectors, which is very, very nice. So we currently only have those 6 or 7 connectors, but now we are trying to add more sources to it. So you have more ways in order to be able to use it. Now, well, that's for the connectors. Now what I'm going to show you, it's basically on the tagging part, something that is very nice. And it's basically the assisted tagging. for these, we added also when you create the project. Let me see if I can do this or not. This is very weird because I cannot find it. Let's see. This is very weird because normally it would be up here, the possibility to add, I know it's in the analytical framework. I'm so sorry. Once you create your analytical framework, as Juani just showed us, in the top part here, you will create your primary tagging, your secondary tagging. Then like you can see how it looks. Then you will have these part here that is called assisted tagging. On this assisted tagging, it will allow you to basically see and our NLP framework, that it's a framework that we created with 11 different frameworks, and to basically help that in the tagging process, suggesting some of the features that can be, tagged. So the first thing you will have to do then is activate it and start tagging our NLP framework with your analytical framework. What I chose right now is a very bad example because this NLP framework, it's basically, I'm sorry, this analytical framework that I chose here, it's on development, so it's not really humanitarian. But I will try to see another project that that has. I will choose another framework. I'm gonna add maybe this one, the Rollup framework, and then I'm gonna clone it. And I'm gonna say SNLP submit. Well, this is in Spanish, but it's fine. I can work with it. Ah, what happened? No problem. No problem. Analytical framework. And then I said this one. Then I'm going to edit it. And then I go to this assisted tagging. As I said, I activate the assisted tagging. And I will start tagging the NLP framework to the framework that we have so far. So for example, here I'm going to go to, this is a context. And let me see. Something that we're all very well sectors. Here it says columns, but I mean, it should say sectors. It looks like very, very similar. So I will put cross, and then here I tag it to cross. I put wash toward wash, education towards education, food security towards food security, nutrition, and so on. So you do these with your whole framework, basically, and this is like probably the longest part. But now, once you finish it, you will have to save it. Well, this is, I don't want to activate the visualization. That's something I can also show you later. And basically, well, you save it, right? And then how does it look? I'm going to show it to you with a project that we have been working on. That is basically the Ukraine project. Here, I just already selected one of the sources that I wanted to tag. I go to my simplified text that Juani was the one showing us that she's working on. And what I'm going to do is going to basically select anything that probably we'll see if this is not great, but let me see. I'll select this, and as you see, there's a little brain now that I have activated it. Here I have a toggle where I can activate or unactivate, and I click on the little brain, and this is going to start showing me analyzing my text. And here I have some suggestions of these tagging. Then, well, you basically will be able to say if yes, this is how you want it or not, and then you will have down here either the possibility to edit it. You know, for example, here it's probably only about maybe it's talking about Ukrainian and Polish people after Russia's aggression against Ukraine. So basically, I will unselect the Russian Federation. I don't have the settlements. I'm just going to keep the country Ukraine. I say politics and security stability. It looks very okay. So I can just create an entry here. And then I can edit the entry if I think I'll need to add or delete more stuff. And basically that would be it. I'm just gonna close this because this is not my project, so I'm gonna leave this without changes. So this is basically how the assisted tagging works. And then the last part that I'm gonna show you is this analysis module where I haven't
Zeman, before
Yeah?
passing to that,
Yeah.
let me summarize the
Sure,
tagging part. Then, in the meantime, you can also see if participants have a question. It's
Perfect.
very,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Sorry.
interesting. No worries. Just to keep the flow and not to lose the summary points. So, yeah. So can you see the my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, as Wani showed you in the demonstration, of course, the analytical framework is the core part of this platform. But then for the analytical framework to have its meaning, we need to pick excerpts and start the tagging process. And there are a couple of points that we need to take into consideration when we do our tagging. The first part is like, this is a kind of points that will help you in the tagging decision process. So the first part is like, does this excerpt help readers to understand the situation and needs of the population? So it's more or less about the relevance and the importance. So not only for the excerpts that we need to consider this relevance and importance, of course, for the sources, as Wani mentioned, this thing is, it's the project, it's not a one-man project. So you do it in collaboration. When you pick your sources, you take into consideration the relevance, the importance. And again, from the sources, when you take your excerpts and start tagging, this is one critical point that needs consideration. And the second is like, can this excerpt stand alone and be understood? This is also a very important point to take into consideration, particularly when you start the process. Again, you ensure, like otherwise, if you simply start taking excerpts, and you might run into a problem of being out of context. And at the end, that by itself will take time and your energy to correct it. So always make sure that when you pick an excerpt, that it can be understood alone and it's not out of context. Then what's the key message of this excerpt? So to pass that key message, then once you select that your key excerpt, then you tag it against your analytical framework as much as possible accurately to even to the subcategory. Let's say, like if it has a protection issue, and if it goes even to a subcategory level, it should be tagged to that specific, so to increase the accuracy. Then the first point is like, how many tags do I have? Can the excerpt be broken up? So the advice and the recommendation here is to avoid repetition. Repetition can occur across the sources and also within the sources. Like, for instance, if there is a known or common knowledge, and if that needs to be captured or tagged once, then we don't have to repeat it when we come across to it in another source or within the same source. Once tagging that, and at the same time, there is a limit. Size also matters, like the minimum excerpt that is recommended to pick is a sentence, and the maximum is a paragraph. But if it is more complicated and it has multi-tagging, then it will be difficult for the platform to learn as well. So like if we run across to a convoluted text, it's advisable to break down into different chunks and limit the number of tags to 1 or 2 information categories per excerpt. Then the other point that we need to also consider is this important enough to be a high-level tagging? Again, this deep platform allows, it's a collaborative platform. You work in collaboration. So if you are not sure of the relevance of the high importance of that excerpt you tagged, it allows like a free text to leave a comment for if you are in doubt whether that excerpt you tagged needs to be rechecked by some of your colleagues, you just leave a comment there. And like if there is, let's say in a situation, if there is if the excerpt reads as like X person, a journalist is arrested, or X household does not have access to health facility or does not have access to water. So you need to ask, like, is this something not normal? Does it have any potential or confirmed humanitarian consequence? Is the arrest of this journalist is because he is maybe a major competent in an election or something? So if it's not the case, then it's not relevant and it's not high level importance to tag. So this kind of cross-checking, and if you are in doubt, always to leave that comment and then to make a collaborative decision. And the other is like, what are the relevant secondary tags? Here in tagging, you have geographic location, which is very important. Maybe it somehow relates to Hermela's question. If you pick an excerpt and it happens to have a district information or a province information, you tag it accordingly in the geographic section as a secondary tag. Also, some demographic information. The idea again goes back to the need of the population. So if we can break down the need of the population by demographic category, if you have people affected, people displaced, even some breakdown, it would be good to have that under the secondary tagging. So all in all, to summarize, be selective when you pick your excerpts to do the tagging, and avoid or limit the number of multiple tags that you are going to have in one excerpt. Rather, it's advisable to break down that into simplified sentences and tag them accordingly against the analytical framework. With this, if you have any question, if not, again, I will turn it to Simana to continue. But let's see if there is a question. So, stop sharing. Any question? No, then Zimana, you can continue.
Yeah, okay, so I don't know if you have also any question about the assisted tagging, that it's also, you know, it's basically machine learning, and we are still like developing, and of course it's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty accurate. And it can tag in English, French, or Spanish the best, but you can also use it in other languages. But it's not going to be as precise as in these 3 languages.
For Ukraine cases, so how did it work for the Ukrainian character?
No, it is working. It's just not as precise, you know. Okay. So then it's actually pretty well. It's getting better now with the Russian or Ukrainian. it's a multilingual language, sorry, model, so it's working. But if you want the best of it, again, English, French, and Spanish, it's performing way better on those 3 languages. Okay, now that was a part of it. There are 2 more parts that Juani asked me to share. And one, it's gonna be window. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so okay, one is the analysis framework. So as you see, this is upon request. So for some projects, this module is open. So this is basically to allow for multiple, well, categorization of multiple extracts within different pillars. So this is like, well, these are some tests. Let me see. This is from Patrice. I hope he doesn't get mad at me. But here I cannot analyze anything. Okay. Well, here I think here you are. So basically what it does, it shows you, well, first the overview of your sources, of your entries, when the analysis, was created, what type of sources. Here it has no type, because I think there's a couple of things that are still missing on the tagging. The problem with this is, like, sometimes we're just showing you projects that are on test, so or for demos. So we try not to mess with the projects that are ongoing that are using this. So here is the analysis. For example, Patrice created here 2 different analyses. One is called is, the other one is called what, and the idea is that you have this little well, this fields, one where you put a main statement. The main statement, it's going to be something that you came up while reading and analyzing your entries. For example, here we have one entry that is donors and civil society organizations prioritize funding for nutrition to, maybe here the statement is going to be donors are more interested on nutrition. And then here you put different little statements, small statements, and you put your different excerpts or your different entries under these pillars that you are working with. And then basically what it gives you, I cannot export this one. Oh no. Maybe I cannot export anything because, but you can download it now. So I want to download this analysis that Patrice created. So basically I can export it, and you will see the analysis in an Excel file. Let me see if I can show it to you, or if it's not yet there. No, it's still downloading. Okay, sorry. So it takes a little bit of time sometimes to download, but the idea is that you have already some assumptions or some statements that you wanna share, and this module allows you to do so. This is the analysis module. And another module that we have is the assessments module. So you can see that up here you have like different sources, and one, it's called assessments. This is a project of Ukraine. In Ukraine, they have everything open. So So then I'm going to show you this one. So the assessments basically is if you have no assessments or there are assessments and your source is an assessment, you can activate this part. So you can add a new assessment over there. I will show you this one. And oh my God, since this still works from an old version. So the idea is that you're gonna be able to add your assessment and add all the different categories that your assessment can have. You'll see you have all the metadata, it's exactly the same as any other source, but here you add like the background, the details, if you have any additional documents, what the focus of your assessment, your methodology, any summary, if there's like, any score of it, you can change it accordingly. And yeah, basically this is how you add this assessment, and it's linked to the assessment registry of UNHCR, I guess we have. And yeah, and this is basically how this assessment work. Then there's a lot of things here, and then we have also the dashboards. And the dashboards are basically just a way to show you graphically how you're going with your analysis. And for some reason, this doesn't want to load. Of course, when we're doing a demo, this happens. Let's see. You see, it was there and there is not there anymore. Let me see. No, I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. Let me see. It doesn't want to show it. I don't know. Okay, so sorry about this. So normally the dashboard will show you some. There you are. Yay! An overview on what have you doing right now in terms of the number of documents, the number of entries, how many publishers you had, if you have needs assessment, etc. And this is basically a little bit of an overview of like we will say like quantitatively of the overall amount of information you've add there, like including like how many of your entries, for example, if you have this humanitarian profile activated, so how many of your entries talk about like all people all affected or only displaced, or how many talk about refugees and so on. You have also the geo areas, the sectors, etc. And this is like only like it's a good overview of how you are, like how your project it's going according to the sources and the entries that you are having. So yeah, I think this is it from my side. I don't know if you have anything else that that you would like to ask. I'm open for any questions. And here is like how the assessment registry, the dashboard of assessments for this Ukraine project looks like. And yep, so this is it from my side.
Thank you very much, Zimana. With respect to time also, we are just on time. We have a few minutes to see if we have questions from participants. If not, some of the features that you showed are like the assisted tagging, it's at the pilot phase, and any plan when, or any idea when will it be available also for other countries? And
It is
also
available for everyone now.
is it? It is okay.
Yeah, everyone can use it.
That's good to know.
Reporting what is happening, to whom or where, but we want to dig in and explain why is that happening. Are there some pre-existent vulnerabilities that we want to tackle? Then we start doing our hypotheses and look for evidences, and then we do our diagnosis like a doctor does, or like a detective. And then we look forward and we start asking, okay, what will happen if we do nothing and we do our recommendation? But nothing of this is going to be solid if we don't start from the beginning having a very good collection and processing of our information. And that's for me, the key question is quality. Quality depends on us, how do we treat the information, if we treat the information with care. And if on top of that, we have tools like DEEP that has offer us such benefits to do that, then we are in the good way. And here you see DEEP pretty much at the beginning of the way. But today we are going to present to you the new releases. Juan will talk about the analysis module and some other new features. So DEEP is slowly, but moving forward. Next slide, please. So when we make a webinar about DEEP, we always start talking about, or refreshing, because you already know, about secondary data review. Because secondary data review process is what we do when we are using DEEP. This DEEP definition, sorry? I think it was a question. So this definition, it came out from ACAPS, but it's also been revised many times and says secondary data review is a rigorous process of data collection, synthesis, and analysis, building on a desk study of all relevant information available from different sources, such as governments, NGOs, UN agencies, media, social media, etc. So we are looking at different sources. We are trying to find sources which are relevant, but also credible, and try to bring that information within a secondary data review process. The objectives are various, you know already. Maybe I want to highlight the information gap, to find information gap in our secondary data review, and then if we have resources and if it is possible, to conduct the primary data collection. Next, please. Yeah, here we see on the left side the primary information collection, and then on the right side we see the challenge in our world nowadays. We have too much information, but also relevant information that is already there when an emergency happens, and that we can use it. And then the challenge is to capture and process that information with tools like DEEP. And finally, the last one for my side. Here, of course, the sources are very important. We wanted to share with you this list of sources as an example that we agreed when we were working on a project last year with JIMAC. Thank you, JIMAC. And I think it's a very good practice and very useful for the secondary data review team to agree on this before starting adding sources to the platform. I think, Juan, that's from my side for the moment, and now is your turn. I give you the control.
Thank you very much, Juani. Before I progress, talking a little bit more about the platform, are there any questions from anyone in the audience? Feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, or drop something in the chat. Okay, well, we will foster onwards. I'm going to talk a little bit about the platform at a theoretical level and how it can address some of these challenges that Juani mentioned. And then we'll go ahead and start with a hands-on demo of the tool itself. So Deep as a tool has been around for about 5 or 6 years at this point, and it really came from a tangible need in humanitarian responses for having a centralized tool and solution for collecting, annotating, and storing qualitative and secondary data. One of the main tenets of the tool is that by multiple actors using the same facility, it helps to enhance collaboration and reduce duplication of effort, both within organizations and between organizations. So the real challenge, kind of as Juani mentioned, and I'm sure as a lot of people can relate to this, this picture here, which is actually from a movie called Dark Water, a little unrelated, but it's a good movie, you should check it out. Simply there's too much data, and the data is coming from multiple data sources, and the real challenge becomes how can you start to extract meaningful information from these large disparate sources of secondary and qualitative data. If we look at the number of documents submitted to Relief Web on an annual basis, we can see over time that it's only continuing to increase. And if you look at similarly traditional media sources, social media, the similar trend is happening and will only continue to do so in the future. So it really underscores the need for a process to be able to harness the information that comes from these data sources. So here enters Deep. I'll talk a little bit about how it's the collaborative aspect of it. But one big thing to highlight on this slide is the use of analytical frameworks, which we'll talk about. And some of you are probably quite familiar, and for some, this may be a new term. But analytical frameworks are basically structured ways to annotate qualitative information. I really like to think of Deep through these analytical frameworks being a way to quantify qualitative information. So now you have something that is a bit more tangible and something that you can more easily analyze or include with other data sources as well. So the process of using Deep is essentially threefold. First, you start by sourcing your information. So that's finding data on Relief Web or media sources or documents that you may have locally or on Google Drive. Then comes the annotation process, which is taking pieces of text from those documents and putting them in frameworks. And then lastly is analysis. So right now in Deep, we're working on finalizing an analysis module, which means that using the tool, you can kind of do this whole qualitative data lifecycle in one place. In terms of frameworks, what we're showing here are some typical dimensions that you can use for how to annotate qualitative data. In Deep, we have these things called widgets, which Juani will show in a moment. And these are basically different methods for doing these annotations. So you can tag geographic affected area, affected groups. You can tag dates, reliability, and causes. And a few different graphical interfaces. And once you do all these annotations in Deep, then you can export them into Word, Excel, and use them on the platform itself as well. So that's a quick blurb about some theory on the platform. And I'll go ahead and hand back over to Juani to dive in with the hands-on demo. Do you want to share your screen, Juani?
Yep, thank you. I'm going to share my screen now. No. Here we are. Can you see?
Yep.
So what I'm going to do now, together with Juan, we are going to guide you on a tour through the DEEP platform, through the new DEEP platform, and we are going to highlight the new features, the new releases. Some of them very interesting. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and get started on the left side. And then here down, I'm going to click in Explore Deep, just to show you quickly that you don't need an account in Deep to have access to this information. A little bit about the projects that are in Deep, more than 2,000 active users, the top 5 most used framework at the moment, and the top 5 most active projects. You also can take a look if you scroll down. Let me see. Here you can take a look to the list of projects, and also we have here a visualization, and you can a little bit explore here. So now I'm going to log in. Like before, you know that you can log in with your humanitarian ID or with your email and password. I'm going to log in with my email and password, and this is the first interface that you are going to see with information about your project, the total sources that are inside those projects, which one are tagged, the source that are tagged, or the one that are tagged and validated. Also here, very nice visualization about your activity over the time, and a little bit down, more detailed information about some of the projects that you have used recently. What we are going to do is we are going to quickly create a new project for those that maybe have not seen that before, and then we are going to visit the project that is active, so we will be a little bit quicker. I'm going to set up a new project, and for that, I'm going to click here, set up a new project. And that's the first thing that you will see, project details. You need to fill a little bit of information, the title. I'm going to put project 1. You will need to fill the date and a little description. We're going to say project for webinar. Okay, then you will need to save the project, and I think it's saved. No, save project. Okay, good. And now you are here in the menu here, which you have first geo areas. Here's where you add, for example, if you are working in a project on a specific region, then you can add the country here. For example, clicking here on the left at geo area, we're going to the first one, you confirm. We just added Afghanistan, and it goes in this case all the way down to the district level. The second option that you will find is user. Here is where you are going to be able to add users to your projects with different roles and from different organizations. For example, I'm going to add here UN, and I'm going to say that I want Juan to be admin administration. So, and the last option is the analytical framework. Deep somehow forced you to have an analytical framework, and you have two possibilities. You can use one of the analytical frameworks that are already in the platform, and here you can also explore a little bit and take a look which analytical frameworks are available. We are going to select here our framework for you to see the menu and all the possibilities here where you can get maybe inspired for your project. So the other option is to add a new framework. And in this case, you need to create it from scratch. That's something that is not difficult. I don't know if we have time now to go into those details. We can, in a couple of minutes, for example, we can create a framework here. And associated organization. And so when it comes to create an analytical framework, we have the primary tagging, secondary tagging, and review. On the left side, you have the building modules. And now with the new platform, the first thing that you will see is section. That's because when you create the analytical framework, you can divide your framework in different sections. So it's not necessary to create more than one, but we are going to create here 2 sections for you to see. It depends everything on how do you want your information to be structured. And then you have the 1D matrix and 2D matrix. An example of 1D matrix will be for example, context, or 2D matrix where you want to incorporate the sectors. Here you have more widgets, and is where you can add disaggregations, text, number, date range, time, and so here you can, I think that in 5 or 10 minutes, once that you get familiar with it, create a analytical framework from scratch. So now, okay, we are going to visit a project that is called Test Ocharolak. Because here you are going to find the projects, your projects, a project that you own or where you are a member. And when you want to work inside one of the projects, you can go, for example, here up in tagging. And now we are again inside the project I want to show you. So now, note for those that are not familiar with DEEP, that DEEP has its own vocabulary. We have sources, we have entries. An entry is a piece of information from your report that you think that it's important. And then we have tags. Tagging means to accommodate the entry in your analytical framework. How do we add content to the platform? Like in the previous platform, you can add a source here on the upper right part of the screen from the website, or you can do a bulk upload from your computer. I show you at sources now. You can browse files in your computer, or here, or you can add a source from the website. I recommend you that if you want to add sources from the website, here up in your profile, you have the Chrome extension. That's also a very easy step. You open the browser extension, and then here, because I have it installed, but then you will see a message add, and then you have it installed. So when you are navigating in the web and you find a document that is interesting for you, for example, I found this one from Relief Web, you have your Chrome extension, and automatically you will have this menu. You make sure that this is the project where you want these sources to be added, And DEEP has automatically identified some information. You just had to add the time to the date, sorry, 15th of June, and the publishing organization. Here we're going to put FAB. And I'm going to this public priority meeting. You save it, and then it's incorporated to your project. Let's go to DEEP again, and we are going to refresh. And here it is, hunger hotspot. Now, second question, how do we create an entry? We can now, that's one of the new things here. In the same page, you have the leads of the sources. Now we talk about sources in your project, and you have the tagging. Here on the right side, if you see it in blue. I'm going to click in tag for you to see, and this is like before, content on the left side, framework on the right side. And let me check the original. Simplify.
So I'll just jump in here. On the left side, you see the content that's been uploaded to the platform. Here in the original, you're seeing the actual PDF and simplified text. We extract text from the PDF, but as I'm sure everyone here can relate, it's not always a straightforward process. And so what you were seeing, here you go, we have it now. So yeah, on the left side, we get the text extracted from the PDF.
Yeah, thank you. So this is and I always wanted to share with you that it's very nice what DEEP offers here, because in the original, show pages not. Here I always do, when I am doing my secondary data review, I always do like a pre-work in my mind by looking at the original view, and then I make an idea of which kind of document is it. Does it have charts, tables, pictures? If there is an index, I take a look to the index and I know what I can expect. Then I go to the simplified text and I work there. So I'm going to create an entry. You select the text that you want to tag. For example, sample this one, organized violence or conflict remains primary driver. And here, that's the beautiful thing now that Juan will talk in a couple of minutes to you, is that you are seeing for the first time maybe the brain of our octopus. That's the NLP function, and that is there because in this project, the analytical framework has been mapped with the NLP framework. I'm going to let Juan to present that afterward. So tagging by myself will be clicking this icon, and here DEEP has make an entry here in this box test, and then you can tag on the right side whatever you want, whatever you consider that you have to tag. Be aware that you can tag multiple things, because sometimes one piece of information contains something that is relevant from multiple perspectives, and you can go ahead by clicking here again, and then you have to save, and you will get a message, successfully save one entry. So that's the way now to tag. Then you have the secondary tagging. Here I think that I only have geo because of the framework, but I mentioned that you can add more disaggregated information, and you can, if the information refers to one of the municipalities, for example, or district, or of your country, then you can tag it here also. Then you have the possibility to review what you are doing. And if you want to finalize, that means that the source is completely tagged, or if you don't finalize, then it will be shown as in process, because you want to maybe another day work on that. So what can we, finally, I want to show you what can we do now with the sources and the entries. What you see here is your source repository in this project. And something that is new is, as I mentioned, we have in the same page, leads and entries. Now you can move one of the leads, one of the sources to another project here, copy to other projects. That's also nice that we were missing in the previous platform. And we have the filters, a lot of filters here, source filter or entry filters that we can use to look for them. And finally, I wanted to show you the entry card. When you, for example, now that we are working with many UN volunteers and we are validating their job, this is a very nice way because you can work directly from here, from the entry card. These are your entries. And if you click here in view tags, if you click in view tags, then you can either edit the tags or you can add a comment or you can verify. Example here, edit tags. So to close it. I jumped now in the entry. 1 second, I close. So what I wanted to show you is that you can work either from here, from the entry cards, or you can also work your entries from the sources repository. Here on the right, you will see, and you find also here the entries that you can take a look. So the last thing is the export module. Once that you have all the information that you are trying to piece together, you can export it. And here's where you can use your leads attributes and your leads entries also. Let's see. I'm going to click here on the right, new export. We can export to the Word document, to a PDF, or to an Excel. Of course, Excel will give you more possibilities to link with other visualization. If you want to use the, and here you have the possibility to filter sources or the entries. And if you choose the, for example, here I have all the sources by default, but then you can choose which one do you want in your export. And in the entry filters, that will depend on the information that you have in your analytical framework. You also can apply the filters that you want. I'm going to do an exportation for you. I'm not going to use all the sources, so it will be quicker. And we are going to start the export, generating the file. You download, and you can see, I'm sure that you already know, an example of the final product that, let's see this one. That will be like this, with all the section of your analytical framework and a bibliography that has been automatically generated. So that was like a quick tour. without going to more technical things that Juan is going to show us now. Juan.
Thank you, Juani. Any questions or anything that folks attending would like Juani to revisit? I see we have a hand up.
Go ahead with your question, Faisal.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. It was quite useful. My question is just regarding the data sources. I've seen you have shown how to do the tagging with regards to an external source. What about documents that you upload from the laptop or from the computer? How do you, is it the same process to do the tagging for those documents? Thank you, and over from my end.
So if we go here, we go to, we are now inside the project at the source. That is called now add sources. You click here and then you click in browse files. And then you will find here, for example, you will find here the sources that you want to migrate to the platform. Let me check. And you can, for example, if I want these 5 ones, then I will open them. And here, I hope that you can see. That's the way Deep is incorporating your sources, the sources from your computer, to the platform. Then you have to fill here also the dates, publishing organization, I think, priority and confidentiality if you want to specify that, and that's it. It's more or less the same process here. I hope that is clear for you.
Yeah, that is fine. Thank you.
Would you like to show the Dropbox and Google Drive as well if you have it set up, Juani?
I can do the whole SDR, including the tagging. So guys, we are just playing.
No, I don't have it. Do you want to show it?
Yeah, I can show it when I start demonstrating.
Okay.
I see there's a question in the chat here from Punya. Can we do web scraping and bulk import of the sources? For example, import all documents uploaded for Ukraine. That's a good question. And once I start presenting, we can address that one.
Sorry, say it again.
There's a question that I'll address when I present, Juani.
But I didn't get the question. Can you repeat it?
Oh, in the chat, it was asking about bulk import of sources.
Import sources?
Yeah, how you can import large numbers of sources to the platform.
If I can import sources to the platform, but from the web or from?
Yeah, it's related to the connectors, which I'll talk about in a little bit, Juani.
Okay.
And then there's a question from Leandra about uploading PDF documents and tagging them. Do you want to talk about that, Juani?
Yeah, PDF documents from your computer or from the web? Or it doesn't matter? Because
hi, yeah, I asked the question. It was for just any kind of PDF, whether it's from the web or just from your own laptop.
Yeah, also from your own laptop. I think I just did it. Let me. I think when I did it from my laptop now, let's see. Not here now, but in any case, yes, you can do it from the web or from your computer. It doesn't matter if it is a Word document or if it is a PDF.
Okay, thank you. But then can we still like, I'm not super familiar with everything, but like, can we still tag in like PDF uploads?
Let's do it. We are going to add the source from my computer. I browse files. This one that is not very big is a PDF. So published. You need to enter the date and here OCHA. We are going to make medium priority and we are going to save it. Successfully added one source. We are going to check now in my repository. If you see, it's here. The first one that I just added from my computer. I'm going to go down. Oh. Sorry. And then I'm going to tag it. So you have here the sources, the PDF that I just added, the original is here, simplified text, and then we are going to tag here, plus, for example, here, and here. You save it in the right upper part, and yeah, so we just did the test. You see?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want to show the screenshot functionality, Juana, if you're familiar with it?
Yeah. So when you have in the original text or document, you have an interesting chart, an interesting table, and it has good quality, or a picture maybe, then you can click here in the camera on the right and the upper part, and that means that you are going to capture something that is not a narrative, no, it's not a text. You just select what you want and you click again where the camera was. Now you have this icon, you click, and then you have this entry and you can tag it the same way like it will be a normal entry. This is what I tell you about the quality. Make sure that the quality is good and is worthy, that they will be happy. They will appear in your report. You always can discard if you don't like it, and so on. That's what you were talking about, or Ivan?
That's correct.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. There's another question here from Vilma. Is it possible to download a project as a CSV to develop sentiment analysis based on the information gathered? It certainly is. Maybe for that one, Juana, do you want to show an Excel export and what that looks like?
Yeah. Let's go for that. You close here. And then you have this menu, sources or export. Now the menu is shorter because you have the sources and the entries in the same page. So you just have to go here to export. And we are going to start a new export. I don't know here how the result is going to be. Let's try. So we want to export to an Excel document. And we're going to start the export. Let's see. Is it doing it?
It was there, Juana. If you go back and close.
I close, okay.
Yeah, and then it's the top one. Just hit the download.
Yeah, download. I'm so used to see Excel in green I didn't realize.
Yeah, we just we changed the export page, but that's a good feedback on the green Excel.
So that's how it looks like.
So to the question on CSV and sentiment analysis, basically what Juana is showing is all of the content in this project that's been filtered. And you have columns for document metadata like title, URL, author. And then if you go to the right a little bit, Juana, we can see how it's been tagged in the framework. So any geographic areas and their P codes, as well as any other tags from widgets. And then, of course, you have a column for the actual text that's been annotated. So you could take that and plug it into a Python library or another tool to do sentiment analysis. And there's also a bibliography here to see where your sources come from. One other thing to point out, and I'll touch on this a little later, is that there's also an API you can use to access your projects in Deep. So if you want to do this more systematically, or if you have another tool that allows you to ingest data and do any kind of NLP analysis, you can also use that.
Some other questions?
I don't think there is a question. Maybe we can move to the next topic. Thanks.
Okay. So
Alrighty.
Yep. Now you are going
Yeah,
to talk about.
Yep. I'll go ahead and take it over from here. Thanks, Juana, for walking us through that. And there's a couple more features that I'll point out in the next 45 minutes or so that we have remaining. I just want to confirm that everyone can see my screen now.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So the first one that I'll talk about will go back to Punyo's question about bulk import. And for that one, we have a feature in Deep called connectors. And basically what the connectors allow you to do is to connect to external data repositories. Right now we have ReliefWeb, we have UNHCR and a couple others I'll show you. And that allows you to, based on filters that you apply, to automatically or semi-automatically ingest content into the Deep platform. So I'll go ahead and show those. And this is what they look like from the use screen. So in my sources page in the top right, where I go add source, there's an option for add sources from connectors. And these are the connectors that I've set up. So this particular one is for a connection to UNHCR's data repository, and it's been filtered for Afghanistan. You can see all the content here is from Afghanistan. What's neat about it is that it pre-fills most of the metadata, title, date published, publishing organization, and then also the document itself. What I and then I hit save, and those are added to my project. If there's files that I don't want to use, I can hit ignore or remove as well. So it's just a nicer way to manage ingesting content into your project. And then another one I'm showing here is from ReliefWeb. But anyways, so back to my sources page here, you can see all those Afghanistan documents here have been uploaded and they're ready to be tagged. In terms of setting up the connectors, if you go to your project setup, and there's a couple ways you can do this. You have to be a project administrator though, in order to do it. One way is in the top left, you see a little pencil icon in the tagging page. And I go here, then you can see in the top, there is a button for connectors. And here I can see on the left side, my existing connectors. as well as the ability in the top right to add new ones. So for instance, here I'm seeing the UNHCR connector, and I can see over the last couple months the number of documents that have been uploaded for my specific context. So if I go to add connector, I'm making a new connector, and here are the different sources right now that Deep can connect to. As I mentioned, Relief Web UNHCR, also humanitarian response in the PDNA registry. And then there's also the ability to connect to RSS feeds or Atom feeds. Now, this is pretty neat because if you are connecting to an external data source, like it's a local media or an academic document repository or whatever, as long as it has an RSS feed, you can connect to it for Deep. You just have to provide the information that's listed here. And then those sources will come in the same page like you saw from UNHCR. But what I would go through with this connector is to select my sources and then input the metadata here on the right side. And then those sources would start appearing in my project. So back to Punya's question, that addresses the bulk import. The web scraping, some of these sources, some of these connectors, they do use web scraping, but there's not necessarily a way in Deep to do web scraping. I know there are some external tools you can use that will do web scraping and generate an RSS feed, and then you could plug that into Deep, but it's a little bit different than what we're talking about here today. So that's a quick overview of the connectors. We are planning on adding more connectors. We're working on prioritizing them. As I'm sure everyone's aware, there's no shortage of data repositories in the humanitarian community. So it's just a matter of figuring out which ones we'll connect to next. But if there's any that you would like to see that would be particularly helpful for your work, please feel free to drop a note in the chat and we'll take a note of it. Any questions or comments on the connectors before I move on? All right, so I have two questions. First one, is it possible to create connection between Deep projects? Carmen, do you want to expand on that a little more?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi.
Yes, go ahead, Carmen.
Okay, thank you. No, I was just asking if is it possible to include documents from other projects to my own project. Projects from Deep that they have documents that maybe are interesting to be included on my Deep project that they are already tagged to be included on my Deep project. Is that possible?
That's a great question. So sort of, but not entirely. The closest thing we have right now is what Wani showed, where you can select sources and then choose to, at the bottom here, to copy to other projects. That just changes over the source documents or the website, but it doesn't actually move over the tags. I think what your idea is a really good one, and in our roadmap right now, we are looking into ways to make information more shareable across projects. So if you're going to start tagging or using Deep in a particular context, and you see, you know, another organization or another project's already been working in that area in the same scope, then you can just copy over their data and start using it from there. So yeah, long story short, we have some basic functionality, but we could definitely do more with it. Okay, and then Punya asked another question, which dovetails quite nicely into my next point of conversation. He's saying tons of tagging had already been done, whether Deep employs machine learning process to learn from and suggest tags. This is a very timely question. We just completed like an 18-month project to have assisted tagging in Deep. Yeah, the premise is quite interesting. So for me personally, and I come from a machine learning background, what's interesting about Deep is that by having everybody annotate data and all of it lives in one place, you can start to build machine learning models that will help you to predict the tags. So I'll show you what it looks like in the platform, and then I'll go back into a bit of theory for it. As Wani was mentioning, when you go through the process of tagging, you see a little blue plus button and then also the purple brain. This document is not in English, obviously, but the assisted tagging will still work. So what I've done is selected my piece of text and hit the brain button, and then automatic recommendations have been applied for where this piece of text should be tagged. So I can choose the recommended one, and then I can select it, and there you go. So the tagging's been done. I can show on a document that is in English, which will be a bit more relevant here. Let's go ahead and try this one. That's not gonna work. All right, okay, so here I'm in another document tagging, talking about cost of food, and I haven't actually tried this one, this is the tagging, so I'll be interested to see how it works. I'm gonna select this piece of text talking about rising food costs, and I'll hit the brain button. Let's see what we get here, quite interesting. All right, so here I get recommended tags for economy, food security, and agriculture. And I can go ahead and change. If I don't like what's been recommended, just not select them here, then hit select. And you can see on the right side that Deep has already annotated part of that text. It will also do it for geographic areas and also other widgets like affected group and severity, as well as reliability. So that's what the tagging looks like. I'll pause there, Punya, as you asked a couple questions about this, if you have any other thoughts you'd like to share. Okay, moving on. The idea basically with this natural language processing is to save the amount of time that goes into tagging. Of course, it's a very arduous process, as anyone who's done this in Deep or otherwise knows. And the quicker we can enable it to be, then the more time is saved, and humans can go back to doing things that humans are good at. So now let's take a little step back and look at how you actually set up the natural language processing in your project, and then you can play around with it if you like. The way it works is I'll go back to my edit project page. I'll go to an analytical framework. And the natural language processing is associated with a framework. So here I am in my frameworks, and this is one that I'm using. The top right, I can choose to edit my framework. And then in the top, you can see assisted tagging. And this is how you align the recommendations the system provides with what's in your framework. Now, it is quite girthy. There's a lot of tags that are recommended, and a lot of frameworks have a lot of content. So it does take a minute to set up, but once you set it up, then it'll stay aligned and you won't have to change anything. In the future, we are working towards a system that is a bit more dynamic in terms of what it recommends. But for now, the content recommended by the system is in the groups that you see here. And the way we came up with these categories, excuse me, was basically taking the most commonly used humanitarian frameworks on the platform. Sorry about that. Taking the most commonly used frameworks on the platform and essentially merging the tags. So there's a lot of frameworks, for instance, that talk about impact, but they're tagged slightly differently. So we came up with a standardized criteria for how we're showing them here. And for anyone who's familiar with the GF or standard humanitarian frameworks, you'll see that what's here is quite standard, such as sectors, shocks events, specific needs group, and whatnot. So the way I would go about doing this matching is, let's say I'm looking at affected groups and the system recommends asylum seekers. What I would then do in my platform is look at population type as these align. Here I have asylum seekers, and I've already aligned these up, but let's say here I have returnees. And so now what I'm doing is anytime the system thinks that a piece of text talks about returnees, I'll align it with my framework that also has returnee in it, and so on and so forth down the framework. This process of matching can definitely be sped up, and we're working on a way to semi-automatically do the matching, so you don't have to. But for now, this is how it works to set up the tagging. So once I've done all this, I would go ahead and hit save, and I would make sure to activate the feature here in the top right. And then when I go and do my annotating, then these recommendations would be shown based on this matching criteria. Okay, we have a question here from Vilma, which is, to identify that the report that's in a language you don't manage but is relevant for the project must be previously reviewed or Deep can translate it, or just with the identification Deep does it enough. Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, it's asking, can Deep handle content that's in other languages, and how does that work? And the answer at a high level is yes, Deep can handle content that's not in English, as we saw earlier. However, that's only so helpful if you speak that language. And if you don't, then the solution right now in Deep, we do not have a translation feature, but we are looking into it. A practical way that we see this working. Sorry, someone's come off mute. Okay, thanks. I'm not sure if you have a question. So a practical way that, all right, thanks. A practical way we've seen this looking at Ukraine, as Deep has been used in a few different projects in the Ukraine response, is an annotator or analyst will find a piece of local media that may be in Ukrainian or another language, and they will just use Google Translate in their web browser, and then either export that as a PDF into Deep, or they will upload the URL itself, which will be containing the content in local language. And they would use this option in the original viewer, where you can just hit plus, and you can add excerpt manually. So basically copy and paste from the translated version into Deep. It's a little bit of a workaround, and it's not the most streamlined way, but that's currently the best on offer for non-analyst speaking language while using Deep. Okay, we've got about 25 minutes left, and we'll leave the last 5-10 minutes for questions. So there's 2 more features that I'll show, and then we'll open it to the floor. The first one that I'll talk about is the assessment registry. And I'll preface this by saying it is sort of a limited feature in Deep, but if you want it in your project, feel free to get in touch, and we will be glad to add it. Oh, one note in terms of getting in touch. In the top right, you see this little exclamation box, or pointer rather. If you click on it, it opens a window in the bottom left, and here you can provide feedback, both in terms of bugs or feature requests for the Deep management team. So if you see something wrong with the platform, or you see a feature that you want to add, you can contact us here, including if you want the assessment registry in your project. So the idea with annotating assessments is that assessments obviously have a much more intricate and specific way of annotating them compared to regular qualitative data. So if I'm in my main tagging page in the top here, you can see assessments. And here I have a listing of all the assessments that have been added. The way that you identify if a source is an assessment is once you add something here. Once you upload a document too deep, there's a little checkbox called is assessment. And then once you go to the assessment page, here on the left side, I have the original document and then also the simplified, kind of like before, so I can scroll through and see all my text. Then on the right side is quite similar to the regular tagging flow, except for this is framework that you can't change, as it's kind of a global standard for how you annotate assessments. So we can look at things like background, detail, such as the type of assessment, if it's rapid, in-depth, registration or otherwise, frequency, dates of start, collection, publication, and whatnot. Then I can go through and attach additional documentation like executive summaries, any data sets, and questionnaires. I can look at the focus of the assessments, and I can also look at the methodology for how it's been done. So for instance, if I hit my little plus button here, I can look at the data collection technique, sampling technique, proximity, unit of analysis and reporting. And I can do this multiple times if there are multiple data collection techniques in an assessment. And then I can finally provide some summaries in terms of sectors that have been assessed, including outcomes, underlying factors, and affected groups. And then lastly, for those who really are really into the science of humanitarian assessment annotation, you can provide a score in terms of the analytical density based on your sectors, as well as the a couple other metadata points like fit for purpose, trustworthiness, and whatnot. And we also have a specific one for CNAs. That's another questionnaire for assessments. So obviously, this is quite a lot of annotation to do for a single assessment. And it's really up to you as someone working in a project or managing a project to decide, how much time and effort you want to spend in terms of assessment annotation. But one thing that is nice is we have an assessment dashboard and also a dashboard for regular leads in the platform. So what I'm showing here is the dashboard for the IMAC Ukraine project. So IMAC is a initiative from OCHA for providing analysis and assessment support for the Ukraine response. And what this dashboard allows me to see is just a visual representation of the types of assessments that have been provided, broken down by types of assessments, severity, assessments of score, and then information by sector. So what is interesting about this is by viewing this, once you've gone through and done all this assessment annotation, it allows you to start seeing any information gaps and just getting an idea of how well a current situation has been assessed. And then from here, you can use it to operationally, in addition with other data sets that you may have to figure out, where should your next assessment be, either geographically or thematically as well. So for instance, we can see our assessments by a couple different ways, tile grid mat and chloropleth as well.
Really stressed out.
And then I won't go into it in too much detail, but there is a similar dashboard for just the regular annotations that we can see here that is quite similar to the assessments. So that's my quick blurb on the assessment registry. Any other questions or comments on the assessments?
Yuan, there is a question in the chat about the recommendation for tagging, repeating info, and there is a document I could share in my screen if I am allowed.
Yeah, go for it. I think you can just take over directly, Juani.
So I'm not sure if that's what he means, but here we have a document with working, because that's a very interesting question. For me, it's very important the quality in tagging. That's critical, and because you know that there is a second work with the raw data that come out from deep, and it's the cleaning, grouping, and summarizing and editing the document. So we learn from previous secondary data review process that when we follow these tips, the second part of the work is lighter. So yeah, we learned that, for example, repetition across leads, there is no need to tag what is common knowledge or often repeated. For example, Yemen is suffering from cholera outbreak, but you tag it once. Then also be aware, those are things that we already know, but we just to be aware of them. Repetition within a lead, there is no need to tag the information within the same lead. Stories of an individual that maybe for the secondary data, they are very important, but for the secondary data review exercise, you don't want to capture in that moment. And don't tag large pieces of text, no? Because the larger the entries, the more difficult for deep is to learn. And also, many people ask me, what is the ideal size of an entry, and we said from short as one sentence and big as one paragraph, for example, but not bigger, not larger. So I don't know if this person was referring to deep. I just wanted to share it quickly.
Great, thank you very much, Juani. And indeed, doing long-term tagging in deep is certainly, there's a real science and an art to it, especially with things like sit reps that often can say the same thing month after month. One thing that we do when we annotate on deep is we only annotate content from sit reps if they're new, because that way when you go to export and do analysis and stuff like that, you're not weeding through the same information. So it really just depends on kind of your team structure and how you want to do it. But it's definitely experimentation. Sorry, it's definitely an experimentation. We're happy to share lessons learned, as Juani has said as well.
You also have here
Another question.
Yeah,
another one.
Yes, also interesting, Yuan, when you will see it, is when you are working with a lot of people on a project, how can you make sure that the info you want to tag has not been tagged yet?
That's a great question. So there's an intelligent way that this can be done in the platform using natural language processing to recommend, like, hey, this piece of text has already been tagged. But unfortunately, we don't have that implemented yet. So I think there's a couple ways that it can happen now. First is just coordination amongst team members. And it gets more challenging, of course, if you have a big team, or let's say you have a dozen UNVs that are using deep for annotation, then it's harder to coordinate. But otherwise, another way it gets done is in the export. When you go to clean it, then you can remove duplicates there. But that's sort of the best that we have right now for that, but it's a great question. Okay. So maybe in the next 10 minutes here, I'll talk a little bit about the analysis module in deep. Sounds like we have someone who's come off mute. Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen again. So the analysis module is not yet public. We're still finalizing it, but I'll give you guys a little preview in terms of what it looks like. Let me just switch my project. So as I mentioned at the start of our call today, there are a number of steps in using Deep or just doing secondary data review. And one of the last is analysis. And what we've seen to date is projects and organizations using Deep will do all the kind of data preparation and annotation and then do analysis in Word templates, Excel templates, which is fine. But kind of the ethos of Deep is that keeping all these work streams in one place and retaining that data long term has a lot of benefits. And so with analysis, we figured, it would make sense to have a module that allows you to do analysis in Deep itself. And in particular, thinking about long-term projects. So if you'll be monitoring a situation for a period of months or years, then having something that's more methodical becomes hugely helpful. So just taking a look at this analysis module here, the way it works is you would start by setting up an analysis and choosing a pillar of your framework that you're working with. So let's say we're looking at operational environments. So I'd select these and I give a title for my analysis, operational. I can assign a team lead and start date, end date, and title of that analysis as well, and assignee for who's in charge of it for the pillar. I can add another pillar here. And so I can have multiple pillars in one analysis that I'm doing. So I would create it, and you can see this is just test data, but here comes one of the analysis objects that I made, and then I'll go through the process of actually doing the analysis. So on the left-hand side, on the left-hand side of my screen, I have all of the entries from my project that I've tagged in this pillar. And what I would then do going about analysis is each of these columns here are analytical statements. So I would go through all the content that's been annotated, and I would start to kind of group it into these statements. And it's a simple drag and drop interface to bring data over into these columns. I'd go about doing this, and then I would create a statement here for my analysis. And I can also move content between these columns, and I can make additional columns as well. And then once I've gone through and kind of organized all the annotations, I can also delete them as I go. I can say if something is redundant, too old, or outlier. So to your question, Landra, this is one way that you can start to get a hold of redundant information that is in your project. And I can see what I've discarded here. So once I've gone through and created these pillars, I can then make a main statement about my analysis, as well as information gap, any information gaps in the analysis. And the analysis would appear here, as I showed earlier, and then also on the timeline here. And then the analysis can be exported into Excel document, kind of like we showed earlier. And we're also working on a Word version. So you can kind of use Deep to create that initial analysis, and then it can be exported, then you can style it and whatnot before creating your analysis output. So there's still some features to work on here, but just to give you a quick overview, any questions or comments on the analysis module? Okay. The last thing I'll talk about, and then hand it back over, is the API for Deep. And I'll go ahead and share this link in the chat here. So as I mentioned earlier, Deep has an API you can connect to for both extracting and uploading content to the platform. And that's really useful if you want to sync Deep with like a Tableau or Power BI dashboard. And there's one particular feature that I want to show, which is this comprehensive entries, and I'll put the link here. For a lot of people, this will only be a couple minutes, but the comprehensive entries is the best way to get your annotated information out of the Deep platform. Here's just showing the type of information you get. You get all the metadata that you've annotated along with the text and the content of entries. And you can scroll through, and any data that you see on Deep is accessible through the API. So you can really spend some good time getting familiar with this if you'd like. And if you have questions on how to use the API, please let us know. So with that in mind, Rahel, I feel like I've gone through the gist of what we wanted to discuss. Is there anything else that you'd like for me to cover today?